What's going on YouTube? H-Dub here, and today we're going to be talking about support champions. Not only support, but epic support. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now we all know support champions are very, very important, and I want to just go over some of the best epic revivers in the game. We know that Plarium, defines support as many things, obviously, because they have Seer listed as a support champion, Corpse Collector listed as a support champion, but like she's attack based. We know that things can be a little, confusing with the wording in this game, but let's not let that get us off the subject of what we're talking about today. Today, I want to talk about champions that you can lean on when times are hard. Like, if I really need some support, right? I really need somebody to bring me back to life. That's what we're going over today. So we're going to be talking about revivers specifically. I will talk about support as in, healers in a separate video. Now, I got Broadmaw up first because I think he is an OP support champion. Not only is he going to be providing support for you in the battle, but he's also going to be providing support for you during fusion events when, you need to fuse a few Broadmaws to get some champion chase points. This guy is worth, 300 points a pop. You can fuse a ton of them. These rares are typically pretty easy to get. I usually have a few copies of them. Right now I'm missing, I got only one of this guy and one of this guy, but they tend to stack up over time. And you can also fuse this guy with uncommons. Like Broadmaw is probably the ultimate support champion, guys. He's helping you out in more ways than one. Am I right? But his kit itself is actually pretty good. He has a revive, places block damage. It is 2 random allies, but this is helpful. If your comp is losing more than 2 people, then you probably need to revisit the comp, the gear on the champions and all of that, because if you're putting together a comp and you're losing, more than 2 champions where you're going to need somebody who's reviving more than 2 people at a time, you need to, probably revisit the gear on those champions. But this is on a 4-turn cooldown. It's not a bad ability. He also has a chance to freeze on the A1, and the A2 does some turn meter, for your team, as well as increased speed, increased crit rate. He has decent base HP. He does have higher base attack than base defense, and he is attack based as far as how his damage scales on his A1. But all in all, a decent champion. It's too bad his base defense is so low, or you could build him with a ton more defense. He has decent base speed as well at 104. It's not bad. So solid epic support champion, and you can get him pretty easily. You're gonna have to get him anyway. Next, we're gonna talk about a true all-star when it comes to epic support champions. That is Djamarsa. She's an amazing champion. You can also acquire her very easily. I think you just got to do some referral accounts or what have you. But her kit is pretty solid, right? Attacks one enemy has a 30% chance of placing a sleep, right? A2 heals a target ally by 30% of their max HP and fills their turn meter by 30%. A3 revives all dead allies with 30% HP and 30% turn meter. And her passive ability is what really brings it all together. Whenever an ally uses an active skill, has a 20% chance of decreasing the cooldown of that skill by 1 turn. And obviously you can book that down to where it's going to happen every time. So she has a solid kit all around. Decent base stats, 105 base speed, okay base defense, nice base HP. Definitely a champion worth investing in if you need some epic support on your account. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion, because this next champion, y'all, is absolutely nuts. She might as well be a legendary. Now, Uggo is not a, raw reviver, but she does have a revive in her kit. And as I said earlier, if you have that many people dying in your comp to where you're going to actually use Uggo, for her revive, then you got to go back and revisit the comp and the gear on those champions. But I could not leave her off of this list just because she does have a revive, right? Obviously, you know, she has a heal here and a cleanse. She has block buffs and decreased defense. Place a leech on the A1. But she does have a chance to revive if everybody dies. So solid champion for sure. One of my favorite champions in the game. She is not a, you know, pure reviver as we would say. It is conditional. So obviously this could have been an honorable mention, but I felt like I just could not leave her off of this list. And this list is in no, you know, order in particular, right? But we're just going to go through all of the epic champions that have a revive built into their kit that I feel like are true support champions. Not the ones that, you know, do damage and can revive people if they kill somebody. Like, not those guys. That's way too conditional. And I feel like they're more of you're going to be going with a damage dealer build rather than like a more support build on them anyway. But Uggo is going to definitely be in a support build. You could potentially get this revive, you know, some use out of this revive if you're in the early game. But on to the next champion. And that is Cardinal, who is an amazing champion. There was a Cardinal meta in Arena for some bit of time. Probably, you know, it's probably been about 2 years. And then when Stone Skin came, you know, around, Cardinal meta kind of like hopped back into place. You know, Stone Skin Cardinals were a thing for a little bit, but even before then, there was a high res Cardinal meta just because of how her, you know, revive works. It revives everybody, gives them some heals, and then puts the turn meter to max, which allows them to pretty much take a turn. Now, this is interesting wording with this kit because the turn meter can go past 100%. So I don't know how it's coded to define max, if it's like in front of the person with the highest turn meter or how it, you know, actually works, but it is a great revive nonetheless. Her other abilities are okay. You know, chance to place a poison on the A1, not, you know, anything you're really going to use. And the A2 heals a target ally by 30% and place an increased defense buff for 2 turns, right? So single target there. You can book up the heals a little bit, but the rest of her kit is not that amazing. Her base HP is not great. Her base defense is nothing to call home about. She has okay base speed, but it's, you know, it's around average for what we've been seeing with these epic, you know, support champions. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion that we're going to be taking a look at. And that is Godseeker Aniri, who is in the exact same faction as Cardinal. Amazing champion for sure. Obviously very popular with the, you know, Godseeker Ninja comp for Sand Devil, but she's also used in a ton of places. You can use her in Arena if you need. You can use her in the Hydra if you need. You can use her in the dungeons if you need somebody to come in and bring you some support. She's also used in the clan boss. She's pretty much, you know, she might be the best out of all of the epic revivers. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Godseeker Aniri might be the best next to like Rector Drath. Between her and Rector Drath, Godseeker is like amazing just because of how her entire kit is. She provides a lot, right? Her A1 attacks one enemy, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 5% of their max HP. She can't heal herself, but she's going to be healing every time she uses her A1. Her A2 is an AoE, heals all allies by 15% of their max HP, then decreases the duration of all buffs on all enemies by 1 turn, increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn as well. The A3 revives a dead ally with 50% HP, then fills their turn meter by 50% and resets the cooldown on all of their skills. It is a single target revive, which is not OP as single target, but her kit provides so much healing. Come on, give her some credit here. Her passive ability is also going to just bring somebody right back to life if they die. So, great champion. Great champion. Her base HP is not great. She does have decent base defense. Her base speed is a bit low for a reviver. So, you know, obviously you're going to have to get a lot more rolls on gear in order to have her have a higher speed than some of the other champions we've already looked at and some of the ones we're about to look at, but still a solid champion all around. And she's defense based. She's not even classified by Plarium as a support champion. I wonder why. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion. And that champion is going to be Duhr the Hungerer, who I think has a pretty solid kit, right? For support, he's decent. 17k HP is okay. Low base attack, low base defense. Okay base speed at 102. It's, this is a kind of okay-ish base stat champion. But he has a pretty good kit, right? If you need him, in Demon Spawn Faction Wars, you do not have a Duchess, you can bring this guy in. He's going to get you 221 and beyond. If there was a beyond, he would be the one that could carry you there. Because his kit, he has a chance to place a stun on the A1. 40% chance booked is awesome. A2 places a 30% reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 1 turn, then heals all allies by 15% of their max HP. This dude is doing a lot. This is on a 3-turn cooldown. This ability is solid. A3 revives 2 random allies with 50% HP, then fills their turn meter by 50%. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. So you can build him a few different ways, build him fast and tanky, or build him like just super tanked out, right? And he's gonna get you over the finish line, I'm telling you. Now, if you, like I said before, if you need to revive more than 2 people at a time, then you need to revisit the builds of the other champions for sure. If you have more than 2 people dying, even more than 1 person dying at a time, it's obviously time to go back to the drawing board. But we're not going to do that right now. We're going to go look at the next champion. And that champion is Gorgorab, who a lot of people look forward to getting in the early game, while you're on your quest to get your Arbiter and you're trying to push Arena, trying to get some of those missions done. Everybody's pretty much looking for a Gorgorab. After you get your high Cthulhu, you're like, all right, man, I think it's time to get a Gorgorab because he's got the speed aura for Arena. This dude is bringing in increased attack, turn meter fill. He's got revives with heals. The A1 has a chance to remove a random buff from the opponent. His kit is actually very, very, very solid, guys. 100%. He's OP in the early and mid game. Obviously, in the end game, he could be used in the Doom Tower Seeker rooms. Pretty sure all of these champions can be used in the Doom Tower Seeker rooms in one way or another. But he still, has some in-game use. Now, if you never pull a Siphi, or you never pull, any crazy champions and undead, and you got this guy, he can 100% carry you to 21. Pretty sure all of these champions can carry you on 21 if you have a proper build on them. But we're not going to talk about the builds just yet. We're going to talk about that at the end. Let's go ahead and talk about the next champion on the list, which is our boy Horforees the Tusked. Now, I was so excited when they introduced this champion into the game because I was struggling with Skinwalkers. Skinwalkers 21 was a nightmare to do full auto with no reviver. I was using just a bunch of healers in there, just trying to heal my way to glory, Doing that on auto during CVC was a nightmare. But when they introduced this guy into the game, gave me a bit of peace of mind for sure. Let's take a look at his kit. The A1 has a chance to place a stun on the, it's not a great chance, but it's something. The A2, increase attack, increase crit rate. You're going to need that for some damage dealers. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. If there was some turn meter, boost in there, that would be a really, really good kit. But it allows you to build some more damage on your champions. You won't need as much crit rate. They're going to get 30% from this guy. It is solid for Faction Wars. I feel like he's a pure Faction Wars champion for sure. His revive ability revives 2 random allies with 50% HP and fills their turn meters by 50%. After the revival, places a 25% strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns. Now, the only thing about this, he's one of those champions that is going to use this revive whether, people are dead or not. I feel like a lot of these guys on the list are, but it's okay, right? This is why you don't have to do everything on full auto. And if your builds are right, you might not need the revive anyway. You can come in and just get the turn meter there from him, get a little bit of buff, and go ahead to town on the enemy. Now, I would primarily use this guy in Faction Wars. I don't suggest you really try to use him in other areas of the game unless you really, really, really need. I don't know that there is an epic Skinwalker's room in Doom Tower off the top of my head. There could be, but I just don't recall, like, even looking at the faction epic Skinwalkers. No, I know that there's a spirit epic room, there's epic undead, there's epic lizardmen. I don't know that you really need that guy in a ton of other places. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion on the list. And that champion is none other than Melga Steelgirdle. She has a pretty solid kit too. Like, I feel like in the last year they've started really introducing epic reviver champions. Like, they introduced a ton of them in the last like year and a half, because there was like a huge demand like for them. Like, that was a place that a role that needed to be filled. Epic reviver champions, and as you can see, most of them like they're reviving only 2 champions or what have you, or random allies, what have you. Like, all of them aren't AoE. Obviously, Cardinal is. She's a void. She should have an AoE. If Godseeker had an AoE, she would be completely broken. But Melga, solid champion. Attacks one enemy, 50% chance of removing a random debuff from a random ally. She can't cleanse herself. A2 plays a shield and a continuous heal on everybody, and this is a 3-turn cooldown book. This is a solid ability to have. Could be useful pretty much anywhere. The A3 is going to revive 2 random allies with 20% HP and 20% turn meter. Also plays a shield buff on the revived allies, equal to 30% of their max HP. Now, it would be amazing if this was equal to her max HP, but whatever, right? Whatever. We're going to take what we can get. She has decent base HP for sure. Her other base stats aren't great. She's HP base, so you're going to definitely want to build with pure HP. Base speed of 100 is right, around where you want to be. It's not, top of the range, but it's definitely not bottom of the range. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion on the list. And that is going to be Kaiden, who is not even classified as a support champion. Another one of our guys that's classified as a defense champion. Has pretty high base defense. His base HP is not great, but decent base defense. A bit slower. So, as we kind of noticed, the defense-based champions are a bit slower than the support champions, as Plarium has classified it. Godseeker was a bit slower as well with higher base defense. But let's go ahead and take a look at his kit. On the A1, chance to provoke, which is great for faction wars. A2, decrease attack AoE, amazing, pretty much, everywhere. And obviously his A3 is going to be the revive of 2 random allies, 50% HP, and he's going to place a 60% increased defense on them for 1 turn. This is on a 4-turn cooldown booked. So a lot of these epics, like I said, 2 random allies with them, not much AoE going on. But these champions, if you don't have anything else, you really need some help there, invest in these guys. These guys are worth it. They're worth it. They can get you, they can get you something going. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion. And that champion is going to be Hermit Jorrg, who, another champion I was, pretty excited when they put into the game. Needed some help in the orcs. Obviously, didn't have the champions that I have today when I beat the orcs faction wars, but this guy really put me over the top. He is a, support champion. His base HP is not great. Base attack is not great, even though, I'm pretty sure he's attack based. No wonder the stats aren't looking great. His base speed, though, is a bit higher than the last few champions we looked at. But let's go ahead and take a look at his kit. So, attacks one enemy, 30% chance of placing an HP burn. HP burn is a strong debuff, but single target. It could work against the boss for you, even though the boss in orcs is going to do the swap, so could work against you, because then you're going to end up with HP burn on your entire team. A2 plays a 50% increased attack buff, and then fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%. Solid on a 3-turn cooldown, get some turn meter boost. The A3 is going to revive not one, but 2 random allies with 60% HP, which is a nice amount, and then fills their turn meters by 40%, plays a perfect veil buff on them for 2 turns. This is one of the better, revives 2 random allies. They're going to get the veil, they're going to get some turn meter, and they're going to get a decent amount of HP back. He doesn't have like a heal built into his kit, so it kind of makes sense that he's giving them like that much HP back. This is on a 5-turn cooldown, so revives aren't usually on, like, they don't usually have like great cooldowns as far as the skill goes, but these are epics as well. So I guess we have to manage our expectations. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion though. So this champion that we're looking at right here is a champion that a lot of people might not even know is a reviver, right? People see Mistress of the Hymns and they're like, feed, instant feed, right? Nobody uses this champion as a reviver, right? How many of you guys know that she actually has a revive? I'll wait. Or maybe it was just me that didn't know she had a revive until I decided to make this video, and I was like, I need to be looking at these champions. But she actually has a revive, guys. Revives 2 random allies with 50% HP and places a veil buff on them for 1 turn. I think that's a really strong skill. Her A2 attacks 1 enemy, places a 15% continuous heal buff on the 2 allies with the lowest HP for 2 turns if the attack is critical. I don't like that she's attack based. I don't like that this is conditional on the attack being critical, because then it's like, all right, you want me to build her with crit rate, she's also attack based. It's just not a good mix for someone who's classified as a support champion. The A1 is going to heal the lowest, the ally with the lowest HP by 15% of the damage inflicted, so you need to do some bit of damage in order to get that heal, or you go with War Master on her to try to get a bit more heal from there. If it work, will work that way. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming like if it heals the same way how you get heals from lifesteal when like War Master or Giant Slayer procs, and it can kind of shoot you back to full health. Like 15% of like a War Master proc on a boss is going to be a decent amount of heals for a champion. So you could spam her A1 a bunch, possibly skip over this A2 altogether and just have her keep like spamming her A1, healing everybody, and then using this revive when you need. Decent base HP, decent base speed, solid champion. Might not be used in a whole lot of places for you, but if you don't have any revivers on your account, definitely look into Mistress of the Hymns. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion on the list though. And that is going to be Rector Drath, who is an amazing champion. Was real excited when they put this champion into the game, because Night Rev is one of those factions where if you do not have specific champions, it is an absolute nightmare. You guys already know what her kit does. They were calling her the baby Duchess. She doesn't quite do what Duchess does, but she's still very, very useful. Decreased attack on the A1. She's got the veil and the heals on the A2. She's got the revive on the A3. The passive is also, pretty cool. Going to give you heals when you're under the veil and increase your resistance. Solid champion all around. Don't like that she's attack based, but it is what it is. Her base HP could be a ton higher if she wasn't attack based, if they did not make her attack based. She has really, really good base speed at 109. So definitely a champion you want to invest in early, unless you pull some god tier support champions on your account. Rector Drath is 100% going to help you out. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion. And that champion is Rian the Conjurer, who is an amazing champion. You can get him from the Doom Tower. All you got to do is get your frags and you can get him. He's solid. He's actually used in some in-game arena comps just because, he can remove all buffs from all enemies and has a 75% chance of placing a weaken on them for 2 turns. So he's been used in some bomb comps. A1 places a block buffs. And obviously we have the revive here. It's a single target revive, so it's not amazing, but he's a decent champion, right? Single target revive is not great. He's mostly used for the buff strip. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion. Who is going to be Shaman? You're going to get this champion early if they're still doing. I don't even know if they're still giving people Shaman. Are they still giving out Shaman, guys? Are they still giving out the Shamans? I haven't started a new account in so long that like I don't even know. But this champion, obviously, she's an epic. She's a reviver. They used to definitely give her out. All you have to do is log in, you know what, for a week, and you would get her. You get Jizzo the second week or something like that. But she has a single target revive, 5-turn cooldown. It's not amazing, but in the early game when you first get her, yeah, it's gonna be helpful for your campaign progression for sure. The rest of her kit is, okay. Gonna give you a crit rate buff, right? In the early game, that's gonna be helpful. That way you can get to 100% crit. A1 has a chance to remove a buff as well, which is helpful because there is a challenge where you have to, I want to say, remove a buff in one of the dungeons from one of the keeps. So definitely a champion that you can use. I don't know that she is going to help you too much if you don't have any revivers in this faction though. Possibly, and just build everybody else as tanky as you possibly can and try not to lose more than one person at a time. She has okay base speed. I don't like that she is attack based as a support champion. I'm going to say that every time, guys. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next champion. There's a lot of these epic revivers, y'all. And that is going to be Tagoar, who is in the same faction as her. They, recently put this champion in the game. I think he has a very good kit. On the A1, attacks one enemy 2 times, places increased defense on the ally with the lowest current HP. A2, attacks all enemies, places increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, then heals all allies by 15% of his max HP. Solid heal there because you can build them with decent HP. A3 is an AoE revive. It's going to give them 30% HP and place a shield buff on them equal to 20% of his max HP. This is what you want from a support champion. I kid you not. His passive ability decreases the damage received by all allies with 50% HP or less by 10%. This is an OP kit, 105 base speed, 18k base HP. He is attack base, but I will let it slide this time, Plarium, because he also has an HP aura. This guy is like what you want in an epic reviver. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Tagoar, crazy. His kit, crazy. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. And I think this is gonna be the last one we look at, guys. And that is going to be Ursala. She is a great champion. I remember when they introduced her into the game as well. Definitely very helpful for me in faction wars. Decent base HP. Okay, base speed as well. Sad to say that she is attack based as most of them are, but she does have that revive that's AoE. Going to place increased defense and strengthen as well. Sadly, she is going to use this even if no one needs to be revived. She does have decreased attack, which is also AoE, and her A1 has a 40% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. You can book that up a bit. She's a solid champion though. Increase ally speed and Doom Tower by 24%. Kind of a niche aura there. Kind of wish it was AoE as well. Well, in all areas of the game, but she is a solid champion. I've gotten a ton of use out of her, and I've actually got a ton of use out of a lot of these champions. But let's go ahead really quickly and just take a look at the type of build that you want to go for on these support champions. So we have Godseeker here, and honestly, this Godseeker is like way more overtuned than you would need for like, base use, faction wars, doing some stuff for progression and whatnot. But this is the general idea, and I will tell you, where you can have some leniency with your stats and some things that you may want to change around for, these specific champions, right? Because some of them do place debuffs, some of them don't. Some of them have abilities where they remove buffs. You're going to need accuracy for that. But let's just take a look at the base stats and gear, right? So gear, she is in a Regen Immortal set. This is the Godseeker I use in Sand Devil. Regen, Immortal, any one of those sets is going to be great for support champions. Some other sets that you can use are going to be, obviously the speed set. You can also use resilience to give them a bit more sustain. You might want to use swift parry on them if you're using them in arena. You could potentially also use a bolster set or defiant set on them. I know those are kind of pay to win sets, but these are just some of these sets you want to use on them. 100% invest in Immortal. Immortal is an amazing set, guys. I don't have a lot of it right here because I have a ton of it on champions on my account. A lot of my Doom Tower Secret Room champions are in Immortal. A lot of my just, Faction Wars champions that I just throw in, full auto, they're all in Immortal. Attack-based champions that like I use for Secret Rooms, depending on the one, like the attack room itself, all of those champions are pretty much in Immortal builds. Just because I don't want to worry about them dying because I don't have a healer in there. Immortal is just that strong of a set. You could literally run your revivers in full Immortal, even run the other champions in Immortal, and you might not even need a revive. But, sets that are going to heal them, sets that are going to just provide you with more HP, more sustain. These are the stats you want to be going for, 50, 60k HP, right? As much defense as you can get. Obviously, I have over 4k HP with this, right? But if you can get like 3k, 3.5k, 50 to 60k HP or more, and as much speed as possible. Some of them are gonna, want some resist, depending on where you're using them. You might not want them to get debuffed because you need them to be able to fully support your team. And if they're getting debuffed, then they're getting out, they're getting put out of the game. You don't ever want your support champion to be getting put out the game. You want them in the game at all times so that they can make sure they putting your people back in the game when they get put out the game. Does that make sense? Some of them may require some accuracy. I don't have accuracy on this Godseeker right now, even though she does have the ability to decrease the duration of buffs on the enemy. You do need accuracy for that. Now, this is the, standard build you're going to want to go for. These are the stats, you kind of want to go for. And like I said, Immortal gear, speed gear. You might even go with some perception gear to get you some accuracy. Right, regen gear, whatever you need to get heals. It's not rocket science, guys. But that's gonna be all for this video. I feel like I don't necessarily need to go over masteries. Mastery is gonna be different for different champions for every area of the game. And if you want to know more about a specific champion, you can definitely comment it down below. I will definitely share the masteries I'm using on certain champions with you, or what I would use. You can message me on Discord. It's an easy thing. But thank you guys for your support as always. Thank you for watching. And until next time, guys, I've been HWZ. Be good and be well.